Oh, guys.
And that is the perfect way to start this session is, oh, guys.
Oh, dear, guys. Oh, dear.
Rook.
Last week, our magnificent bastards were busy. They started out visiting Nathan in the hospital since he was finally well enough to receive visitors. The preceding week's events were discussed with him, including, with his daughter present, Rick's shooting of an Ashwood Abbey guard, which she had witnessed. Vanessa revealed to the group she was chasing down leads about Network Zero in an apartment building she owns, and she found a hidden room. Rick went to investigate this hidden room and found all sorts of goodies. With Vanessa's help, since she ripped up the strong wooden floor with just her bare hands. In the crawl space under the floor, there were duffel bags full of manacles and chained nets and other iron objects, along with passports and plane tickets to Dublin. Vanessa confessed to Rick that she doesn't remember what happened here, but it had something to do with hunting a creature. They loaded the findings into Rick's truck, and then Rick set the building on fire as they drove off into the sunset to Rick's bar. While there, Rick got in a minor fight and fired a warning shot next to the guy's foot to get him to leave, and then sat like nothing had happened and drank with Vanessa, talking about her memory loss. Meanwhile, Cecil spent time exploring the abandoned places of the city and parkouring as an escape from the stresses of the Abbey. In an old warehouse, he found shipping ledgers and notes about deliveries to someone with the initials PC, and the items were intriguing. A statue of Bastet, a statue of an unknown deity found in an uninhabited location that predates the dynastic period of Egypt. Put that thing back where it came from, or so help me. Continuing his rooftop travels, Cecil saw his touchstone Maya tailing Quinn, the entity that is inhabiting somebody else's body. Maya was doing her thing, going to pickpocket Quinn, but he caught her in the act. Cecil leapt into action, literally, and landed on Quinn, grabbed Maya's hand, and ran. The impact on Quinn sent a puff of insects into the air, including a locust that held onto Cecil's clothes. Maya pulled the locust off of Cecil, and he pulled her into a run again, because if Quinn is made up of insects, they might all share sensory information and would know where they are. Maya wanted to do something about Quinn, to stop it before it hurts more people. Cecil was forced to explain that while the Abbey and his cell does technically protect people from some creatures through their hunts, protecting people is not their goal. They have other, more selfish goals, and they want to use Quinn, not stop Quinn. Cecil told her she needs to lay low and stay away from insects to remain safe, because Quinn would definitely use Maya to get to Cecil. Elsewhere, Nathan had a father-daughter chat to try and help her deal with the things that she has seen, and that she has found out about the Abbey, more than he wanted her to know. Well enough to get up and walk, though still in massive amounts of pain, the cell got Nathan out of the hospital and rode in Cecil's car towards the country club. Coming to a partially blocked road, Cecil sensed that something was wrong and evaded the barricade to drive down the blocked road. In the rearview mirror, Cecil could see a group of rival Abbey hunters run onto the road to the road closed signs, and then they fired an RPG at their car.
And before
Bad puppies.
before we deal with that, we're gonna go back in time a couple of weeks here.
But I just got out of the hospital.
Well, slowest RPG.
As everybody's life gives them a moment to reevaluate life choices that led to them having an RPG fired at them.
Not my first.
True.
Nathan remembers being in the hospital. But that's enough about Nathan. We're dealing with a specific Galleria that has recently happened. So we're gonna open up with Nora. Having delivered the information to the Abbey, as the information was so delivered with the vampire, the Abbey had graciously set up one of their holdings. It is essentially a warehouse that has been converted into a museum, and a rather luxurious looking one. They definitely went all out with the renovations to make this into a museum. They have given you full run of the place. You're allowed to decorate it however you see fit. You're allowed to choose which images are on prominent display. And you have a couple of days before the rest of the country club will be invited in to view your photography of this entity. Tell us some about the decoration and how you're setting things up.
I wanted to make it kind of like an MC Escher type of painting, you know, the one with the stairs that keep going nowhere. And I would just have like little bits of that everywhere, and like windows that have like a mirror, so that when you look in the window is a mirror instead of whatever it is, and kind of like fun house mirrors that are like you upside down and stuff along with the pictures. So it'd be like upside down stairs and then mirror and then a photo that's of the 20 guys swirling around. And could I have blown up these photos?
Absolutely.
I want some of them to be like life size and like cover whole walls of the thing to be kind of really haunting so that they can feel how we felt inside the room. And then in between some things there would be like notes about what happened that day, you know, like when we first got into the house, Nathan got out unscathed somehow, question mark, like and it like maybe some very morbid haikus just like scrawled under some of these photos, some very artistic black and white stuff.
Also,
Quick question. Are these photos in motion like the Polaroids we took, or are these stills?
they are in motion.
So the original Polaroids are in motion, like the original ones that are there, or like even the ones that she makes copies of and then blows up.
The ones that are blown up are more static, but the originals are 100% still moving.
Oh, we
so
could set up like
that's the case.
projectors of the stills.
Actually, I think that for the stills, I wanted to make into like a little box, you know, so you have to kind of like peek into the box and then you see the pictures that are like the regular size moving around. So you have to take your time to go through the gallery and look at them up close. And there would be like a blown up still of it next to it, but then you can like peek in and see who you see. This is so fucking cool. Sorry. Freaking cool, I mean.
Also, I would also like to state that, Cecil, it was mentioned that you would be helping Nora set this up, so you would also be there assisting in this matter.
Usually happy to help a cell member.
How are you putting Cecil to use, Nora?
I am very small, so he is hanging all the tall stuff. Even though he did fall from like the second story, it's probably not. You're fine with heights, right, Cecil? Like you're fine with climbing ladders. Okay, cool. Then you can do that stuff.
And as long as there's something to hold on to, you might not need to set up a ladder either.
You might not.
Yes.
So, during this setup period, is anybody else going to stop in and help, or is it just going to be on these two?
Yeah, I'd probably stop in and visit, and try to help.
I think
Vanessa doesn't really have much gallery experience. So,
Rick will stop in and help with any sort of like audio stuff, any sort of projector work, anything like that for any of the kind of more like immersive things in the room where I went to like a Van Gogh thing, and the first room you walked into was all blacked out, and then they did projections of things that made the room kind of come to life. So something like that where they're kind of moving and it's all around you, and Rick can help with some of that techie stuff. Some of the mirrors, they make this stuff where you can like turn the reflection part on and off. So Rick can like tie some of those to proximity sensors, so that like it's a mirror, but if you get close to it, the mirror starts to fade and the image of the ghost behind it starts to show up, and when you back up, it turns back into a mirror.
Like the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah. So Rick will come in and spend a day or so like helping with like all the little tech stuff, all the little fine details on that side, the gadgeteering.
Victor.
I will reluctantly, very reluctantly accept your help.
I imagine Victor. I imagine Victor might take some time to help as well. Probably more on the interior design and decor side of things. You know, turn it into like a mini like HGTV show. You know, he's got like a couple different samples of things. Like, do you like this one, or maybe this one's a bit more fitting, and kind of go through all the lovely design phase that was kind of right up his alley with setting up an event.
Because it needs to look as classy as possible.
Oh, of course.
Because it wasn't a rickety old house. They don't need to know that.
With everybody's help, the night of the Galleria is upon you. Unfortunately for possibly two of you, as with most Abbey events, black tie. The cell is expected to all be there, with the exception of one Nathan, who is being treated for his injuries in the hospital still.
There in spirit.
If he's awake enough, we can live stream it to the TV in the hospital for him. Because nothing says we love you like waking up from a coma a ghost put you in to see a gallery of that ghost on your TV.
Very caring.
So, during this Galleria, a veritable who's who is there. Even Mr. Strauss himself makes an appearance. So it would be at this time that this is certainly an opportunity to interact with your fellow Abbey members, gather information, or just enjoy the sights and haunts of this Galleria.
What?
I would say that Victor would probably use this opportunity to schmooze and carouse with the other Abbey members, and hopefully make some progress on his investigation, and see if he can't pluck through a few more threads of this political mystery that he's trying to get to the bottom of.
Alright, for those that maybe haven't been here since the beginning, what exactly is that mystery?
Yeah. So, going back to the announcement of the Black Royale, this big Abbey tournament, there was a warning that Victor's father had given him, a mention that something was wrong, something was off about this Black Royale. And given the seriousness and severity of that warning, it was very out of place for Victor's father. And ever since that moment, Victor has been trying to pull at all of his connections, chat with other Abbey members, see what little bits and pieces he can dig up about sort of the previous Black Royales and see how it compares to this. Figure out what's different this time, what's wrong, and hopefully avoid a crisis before it occurs. And things have gotten a bit interesting as we've made some progress on this investigation. We've discovered that the London cell or group of the Abbey has been cut off from headquarters, or rather has ceased communications with them. And furthermore, after having a conversation with the local head of the Abbey, Maximilian Strauss, he also seemed very on edge at the last Abbey gathering, and clearly something is wrong if the head of this organization is in perhaps less control than Victor might have previously believed over the situation. So now kind of using this opportunity of all these other high-ranking Abbey members about, it gives a very convenient excuse to chat up without making these questions and conversations seem too pointed.
So, go ahead and give me your manipulation plus socialize here.
Sure.
So while he rolls that, while Rick was messing with all the gadgetry, setting up all the cords and all, I imagine, like with this being a warehouse, lots of metal, lots of heavy brick, probably bad cell reception in here. So I can see him setting up a like a Wi-Fi just for the Black Royale members, and like when you check in, you get your code and you get like a little card with a password on it and stuff, so that not just anybody can hook into it and stuff.
Okay.
But because Rick's who he is, he's going to use that as an opportunity to try to essentially spy on and gain access to phones that are connected to that Wi-Fi while they're there.
All right, so while he's making that roll, you go ahead and make me intelligence plus computer.
Right. And I'll spend willpower on this.
As will
Oh, I didn't include the willpower dice. Oops. Let me roll another 3 there. 2 successes.
And those 3 dices were all 3s.
Yes.
Amazing.
3.
So, now, I do need to make kind of a small note. Remember, this is technically in the past. This is before your conversation with Strauss.
Sure.
While that's not really directed at Victor in this situation, that is somewhat directed at Rick here. I direct this specifically at you. Is because a certain group of individuals has not made it back from the US at this time. Okay. So you're not getting access to their phones.
Yeah, no, this is more along, he's been taking the social route digging into this mystery, and I've been trying to dig into computers, files, phones, and getting information to give to him to then leverage, and this is just an opportunity for that.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine.
So
I will go ahead and I don't think this was the correct list. Does anybody have
Nope.
Here's the correct list. I knew I had it on my desk somewhere, so you got a I don't think there's the correct list. So you got a 2?
Hit 3 on 13
and you got
dice.
3. Okay. You guys are actually at matching totals again because of that. However, that also means one big thing. I had told Rick the last time that he was only one short. That's definitely more than enough. Now, your question was a bit different. If you could refresh everybody what your goal was.
Mine was more about, let me go back and pull. What I had codified was basically gaining access to, like, full access to the local Abbey chapters, basically file storage and file and server storage and stuff, but it was really geared towards kind of less about like what's wrong with the Black Royal Regalia and more about all the machinations, the who's, and just like pulling details about the upper crust of this and who's pulling strings from where. It just kind of put all the pieces together of what the greater puzzle that we're not supposed to know about looks like. And then when I get information that's useful to Victor, I hand it over to him.
Okay, so one of the biggest pieces of information you're going to get here and very clearly pass along to Victor, it's not something even directly you were looking for. Instead, it's a phone that, while you were somewhat aware of all the people that would be getting the password, it's a phone that connects to the Wi-Fi and gains access that is not part of the Black Royale. In other words, while you kind of have an idea of who's who, number-wise, this number just is completely, you're like, the hell is this? As you attempt to kind of survey, if you could roll me a perception check, as obviously the lights get dimmed and, the more theatrical parts of the Galleria start up.
And what is perception again?
Wits composure.
Composure.
All right, and I have inspired perception.
You can burn that, and you'll get an exceptional success on 3 rather than 5.
All right, I couldn't remember what that did. I'm going to spend my second point of willpower here.
And burn it?
So wits plus composure plus 3, 2 successes.
So close.
So close. But you do resolve that condition if you did decide to burn it here.
Do I get a benefit for burning it with only 2 successes?
No.
Okay.
Well,
then no.
technically, you burn or you resolve the condition, so you get a beat.
Oh, okay. Sure, why not?
All right.
Beat tracker.
Grog would be so mad if I didn't do something that gave us a beat.
Yep.
So, you notice somebody that you've never seen at an Ashwood Abbey event. Not here in London, at least. This guy walks with a very, very stiff leg. You can already tell it's probably titanium. Guy looks to be pushing 90. Very, very old school dress. If you were to imagine what a Victorian gentleman would dress like, and this is very much how he still dresses. And
So we're looking like we're looking at like Downton Abbey clothes.
yes, and the fact that he is an Ashwood Abbey member most likely has seen some sort of combat and is in his 90s is impressive.
I'll just like snap a picture and send it to Victor in like a text message. Be like, old man, but it's a new face.
Victor, you are somewhat aware of the Ashwood Abbey's call list, so to speak. However, even you're with Rick on this one. This guy does not ring any bells. As you eventually see him moving through the gallery, taking moments to stop at the more impressive ones, he certainly spends most of his time at the little box Nora had set up for the actual stills. Or stills, as it would be in this case.
That is rather intriguing. Perhaps, you know what, I think Victor will just check in with, Rick. I don't know if, we've arranged some sort of communication or if we're just chatting it up. Just double check on that info that we've got as to whether or not we want to investigate this gentleman at this time or just continue to observe, or if it'd be more prudent to make introductions.
Yeah, Rick's in like a back room, like running like the cameras and the projectors and keeping up with the audio and making sure all the Norse stuff stays pretty and the lights stay good and things change at the right time so people walk into the right rooms and stuff like that. So you come back and he's kind of doing that, but he also has like 6 freaking monitors set up over here to like a laptop, and one guy, like every time he changes rooms, like the screen flips to like the next camera and is tracking him. Hey, Victor.
Yes, this fellow you mentioned, he's not ringing any bells, and believe me, I know a lot of the old-timers. Unfortunately, I may have, how do I put this? I've been chatting up a lot of people lately, and I might be pushing my luck, per se, to inquire any further. But given the fact that I know nothing of this individual, I do think we might have a bit more of an in. However, he does seem quite intrigued by Nora's work. Perhaps we can pull her away from her duties as hostess to have a chat with this gentleman a bit more organically, perhaps.
I think that's a good idea. I think maybe you and Nora. I mean, I've got a way with people, but judging by his age and his dress, I don't think I'm what he needs to get talking. I think someone with your background and the beautiful hostess of the event together are the best ways to get his attention.
Fair enough.
I don't think the bravado of a young American with new money will open a door with that one.
No, I certainly get that impression of him. I'll see if I can find Nora then and pull her away.
Curious who invited him. Had to have been Strauss, right?
It's possible. It's also equally possible that any of the other members might have extended an invitation, but given his unfamiliarity, I am willing to wager a guess that he might be from a different chapter. But,
Yeah,
we'll see.
he may have an outsider's view of what's going on here.
Nonetheless, we won't get anything talking back here. I'm going to go find Nora, if you'll excuse me.
You should shoot your dad the picture that I sent you. See if you can get a name.
Sure. Well, I'll see if he's willing to engage in conversation with me.
Good luck.
Yes. Yes.
And then you'll be like, shit, they crossed the line. I didn't hit the button. Hold on. and then like the lighting will change in a room as Rick hits another button and like flips a switch.
Victor takes his leave to go and find Nora, who's, I can only imagine, inundated with other members of the Abbey.
Probably.
Or unless she's more of a wallflower trying to avoid all the attention.
I am probably a mix of both. Like, I want the attention, but I don't want to engage with anyone. I want people to just yell compliments at me from a distance, you know? It can just be like, the Queen of England.
On her own little pedestal, everyone just waving.
Just wait.
You're in like the Pope Mobile bubble.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, Victor will have to stride up and invade that personal space of yours.
No, you're fine. Like, I know you. I don't know anyone else.
Yeah, it's different. Yes.
Yeah.
But we'll walk up to Nora. I really must commend you for the night. It's working out splendidly.
Yeah, thanks. Quite the turnout, huh?
Yes. Say, there's someone I'd like you to meet. There's a new face, and he seems to have taken a rather particular interest in your work. And we have taken a particular interest in him. And perhaps you and I can make a formal introductions.
All right, lead the way.
And a little flick of his coat, Victor will make his way to this gentleman, assuming he's still admiring the contents of the box.
Oh, most definitely. Before we get on to that, though, I want to check in on Vanessa. Unfortunately, Vanessa, this place does not have, It does have a small alcohol cart, but it is not like a bar by any stretch of the imagination.
That's fine. Vanessa wasn't planning on drinking too much here today. It is her friend's event, and she would hate to ruin it by getting shit-faced.
That is the nicest thing Vanessa has ever done for me.
What, not the
That may be the
Thelma and
nicest
Louise
thing
joyride?
Vanessa's ever done for anyone.
Chose not to drink.
Drinking a little bit. It's
Oh, okay.
not too much.
Just keeping it under control.
Yeah. This whole photography thing isn't really up Vanessa's like alley, but she understands that Nora is like really into it, so she's kind of taking part in it, like, you know, looking through the photos, maybe like chatting with like some people, but she's not super enthusiastic like about like the whole thing. She's there more as a friend than a spectator.
All right.
Yeah.
Unless there's something specific that you want to engage with here.
Nothing I could think of, no. I feel like Vanessa's just kind of in the background for this one.
Fair enough. Cecil?
Less in the background and more in the rafters.
He's going ooh from the ceiling.
Because, okay, so he's got enough money to have like suits custom made that are athletically usable, so that like he won't tear his suit if he like parkours up a wall or something. And as being part of the setup crew, he would have wanted to put some kind of up high out of people don't generally look up, so he's gonna try to be someplace up high because he does not want to be mingling with these people, but he still needs to be here. So he will once or twice make sure that Nora knows that he's there and that he's not like abandoned like her big event, but for the most part he's going to be avoiding everybody. Just being out of sight and up high.
I think you've just described like most introverts' dream is like, oh, there's just like a room in the ceiling that I can hide in when things get uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like you mean I can be there but nobody knows about it? This is amazing.
So like, it's a converted warehouse, so there's bound to be some kind of rafter, supports for the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
There might be catwalks left over. There's bound to be places that he can be, and there's not going to be a spotlight on him.
100%
So
there are
he's-
catwalks.
So he's present, and he's not gonna like be completely out of sight because he wants to show support for Nora, but he's gonna completely minimize his risk of needing to interact with people that he despises.
I imagine if we know that you might get a text with the picture of that guy too. Say,
Keep eyes on him.
old guy, new face, eyes may be good. With a picture.
It's not too
And-
hard to pick him out.
And Cecil is good at noticing things, so he will be watching.
It's about at the time that he stands up that Victor and Nora, you're able to finally make your way through the rooms and the crowds to him. He kind of stands up and he looks around. He takes notice of you, but he doesn't seem to notice the intent that you guys wish to speak with him. So he does kind of just get ready to turn and move, thinking, oh, I need to get out of the way so these people can, look at the photos.
What do you think of my work? I shout, or kind of say loudly before he gets a chance to walk away.
He kind of gives a start. I may be old, but my hair hasn't gone yet. So you're the one that set this up, or at least took all these wonderful photographs. And he actually does have a cane that he uses to walk because you both noticed his very, very stiff leg. And he kind of very gently taps on the box with the cane, not hard enough to even shake the box.
Mm-hmm. But in like in a joyful elderly
Yeah.
manner.
Yeah, not angry by any stretch. My day, we call those maelstroms, by the way.
Do you call them what?
Maelstroms.
Really?
Swirling storms of etheric, ectoplasmic, whatever is given some form of sentience through just sheer raw quantitative power.
It is so fascinating, isn't it, Victor?
Do you physically shove him forward as you say that?
I feel like my arms were linked with Victor's because it would have been weird if he came to get me and just walked away ahead of me. He's like too much of a gentleman, so I'm sure he was just like, and then it was like, so I'm just kind of like elbowing.
Yeah, I'll take the dropping of occult terminologies as my cue to jump in here, and sort of chime in that yes, I do believe I've heard the term before, maelstrom, quite aptly fitting, I must say, speaking from first-hand experience. Where are my manners? Victor Delacroix, and extend a hand.
He places his cane down, obviously putting a lot more weight on it as he extends his other hand. Ah, the Delacroix family. Oh, I remember when your father was in diapers. Grayson Baxter.
Yes. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. I do hope that you're enjoying yourself at this little galleria of ours.
Enjoying myself. Well, yes and no. I'm gonna be quite frank here. Nothing to do with your work, as he kind of notices Nora's face. Nothing to do with your work. Your work is spectacular.
Thank you.
He kind of...
I'm always welcome for critiques.
Yeah.
Well, my critique is I'm not sure why the ring hasn't already picked you up, dear. As he kind of gestures over at Nora. The ring is always looking for new members that can get certain things done. I, of course, have done my homework. Though doing homework on this particular branch has been less than forthcoming. I honestly thought this chapter had been disbanded.
What made you think that?
Card-holding member of the Edmund branch. We haven't heard anything from the London branch in a while.
5, 6 years.
That makes sense. I think to myself, I don't say that out loud.
And to be fair, I'm pretty sure Rick has this entire place bugged to hell and back.
Oh yeah, he's listening in. Like Rick's going. I don't know, probably 5, 6 years, maybe. As they're talking.
But it's nice to know that this isn't a smoldering crater in the ground of a chapter. It's good to know that our money is still being well spent, raising up the youth and the like.
Well, we are certainly in good hands with the wisdom of our elders guiding us.
Who is...
You
He kind of pauses. Outside of the ring and a few members of the royal, who exactly is in charge here?
To the best of my understanding, from a public-facing perspective, I guess you could say it would be a Mr. Maximilian Strauss.
Strauss. And you can see he's pondering that name. Can't say I'm familiar with that name. And
Well, you haven't heard from us in some years, so that's probably why.
I mean, usually not governing. Pardon me, I don't frankly care about proper terminology these days. The people who own clubhouses, members like that, are usually only given to part of the council or the ring, or whatever constitutes as a ruling body for the libertines at this point. That changes on a weekly basis, but that is their prerogative, and that is how they enjoy it.
Yes, I imagine things would get rather old rather quickly for them without new stimuli to fill the void.
Very, very much so. But yeah, Maximilian Strauss. I'll have to check up with the boys in, Scotland. Edinburgh.
How is the main branch doing these days?
Oh. Better than we could have hoped, worse than we had ever feared. That Vasco, that upstart Vasco's breathing down our necks night and day. They're all worried about the chapter that went rogue in America.
Oh, dreadful. Those unruly Americans. They do have a certain penchant for rebellion and revolt, I suppose.
It's unfortunately far worse than that. If it was a simple upstart rebellion, we could just cut funds and, dust our hands of that situation. They, unfortunately, have taken things a step too far.
Oh. In what way, if you mind my asking?
Ooh, hold up, guys. We are getting a massive lag spike on my end. Sorry, I need to try and see what's going on real quick. I do apologize for this technical interruption here. Okay, my download speeds are doing okay. Sorry about this. When all of a sudden your kilobytes per second drop from 4,000 to 1,000, you're like, hold up, what the hell?
Oh no!
Something is throttling my upload speed.
I'm just sad for you that you measure anything in kilobytes still.
It's the baby. The baby's on the Wi-Fi.
Damn kids.
She watching them lullaby YouTubes.
Well, for one, I'm very worried that my son turned into a girl all of a sudden.
That's why they're on the Wi-Fi. They downloaded it. It's a mod.
Yep.
And one, my son's not even here. So I'm switching over to wired connection, so I will hope that fixes it.
I do.
I can count the pixels on the stream.
Yeah,
I do have somebody telling me that video on the stream seems to be cutting in and out.
Yeah,
Somebody,
let them know that we're aware of the situation and we are attempting to fix it. I will go ahead and put us on BRB, essentially.
I'm gonna roll the B-roll real quick and we'll be right back.
Yeah.